The Life of Momo Ayase from Dandadan. Momo Ayase is the main female protagonist of Dandadan. She forms a friendship with Ken Takakura, an occult fanatic whom she nicknames Okarun, which leads to her awakening her psychic powers and the latter losing his kintama after being cursed by the Turbo Granny. Momo agrees to help him find what he has lost while overcoming any paranormal or extraterrestrial obstacles along the way. Welcome to the Amagi. Only about 25% of our viewers are subscribed. Subscriptions are free and easy, a simple click of the button. It's an easy thing for you, but it truly means the world to us. Not only will it help us bring you more content, but it'll help you stay up to date with our videos as they release. Win-win, right? Let's get into it. Background. Momo came to live with her grandmother, Seiko Ayase, when she was young. At some point, she became childhood friends with Gigi and had also developed a crush on him. While out in public, Momo was forced by her grandmother to perform a daily ritual to give her good luck. This unfortunately caused her to be bullied by the boys around her, including Gigi, much to Momo's displeasure. Having subjected her to this humiliation, Momo blamed her grandmother and doubted her being a spirit medium. However, she soon came to realize that what she really disliked about the bullying was that it was mainly directed towards her grandmother rather than towards her, and dismisses the hate she previously had toward her. After coming to truly love her grandmother as well as her job as a spirit medium, Momo came to believe in spirits despite not being sure of herself that they're real or if her grandmother is truly a psychic. Turbo Granny arc. After breaking up with her boyfriend, who bore resemblance to her cherished idol Ken Takakura, Momo goes to her friends for company, and later walks the halls feeling heartbroken. She then catches wind of a few boys harassing a student and jumps in to defend him, which succeeds in causing them to stop. Momo leaves, but is caught up by the student she was defending and hears him ramble on the topics of UFOs and aliens from his magazine, after he noticed how Momo took a quick look at it earlier. Not wanting to hear any more from him, Momo yells at the student, but quickly apologizes for going too far with what she said. She then states to him that she does not believe in aliens, but rather ghosts, because her grandmother is a psychic, much to the student's amusement, since he does not believe in ghosts. Momo becomes angered by the student after he disapproves of her belief and gets into an argument with him, which results in both of them challenging each other to see whose beliefs make sense. For Momo's contest, she has the student arrive at a tunnel to prove that a ghost, known as the Turbo Granny, exists, while the student sends her to arrive at Nagi Hospital to prove that she is the most likely to be abducted by aliens. While chatting over the phone, Momo talks about her past with her grandmother to the student and soon hears him panicking after he runs into the Turbo Granny. Momo warns him to be cautious of the ghost, but hears that he is in danger and prepares to head to his location. However, Momo looks to see three figures across the hall and becomes captured after a failed attempt at an escape. Momo then wakes up in her underwear to find herself restrained by three figures known as the Serpo, an alien race that wishes to acquire reproductive functions similar to the human race. After learning that they plan to violate her, Momo tries to break free but is unable to resist the Serpo's control over her brainwaves. Before they can proceed any further, the Serpo are attacked by the Turbo Granny possessed student after the cursed boy emerged from Momo's phone. Momo cheers on for the cursed student to fight back, but sees him quickly subdued by the Serpo's psychokinesis and is once again subjected to alien control over her brainwaves. However, after remembering her grandmother's past instructions on how to release her ki, along with the Serpo overstimulating her brainwaves, Momo awakens her psychic powers, which makes her happy to know that this was proof that her grandmother is a true psychic, and sends the Serpo flying with a kick that ends up causing the UFO she was abducted in to be destroyed as a result. She then manages to suppress the curse the student was under, and it's told by Turbo Granny that if she wishes to free him of his possession, then she would have to confront it in the tunnel where the ghost resides. After escaping, Momo helps to keep the student's curse from releasing while telling him that they need to defeat the Turbo Granny in order to free him. The student tells Momo that he will handle trying to fix this situation alone since he doesn't want to trouble her anymore. However, Momo insists on helping him. She then becomes flustered after the student says a line similar to Ken Takakura, but quickly calms herself to dismiss these feelings and asks for the student's name after realizing she had not learned it. After the student gives his name, Ken Takakura, Momo becomes speechless and starts to whine after coming to learn that the occult student possesses the same name as her favorite actor. She then boldly states to him that she refuses to address him as such and gives him the name Okarun, as well as demands that he not say his real name in her presence. Seeing as how morning starts to arrive, Momo invites Okarun to stay at her house until they can confront the Turbo Granny, which is supposed to come out at night. Upon arriving, Momo becomes shocked after seeing Okarun set on fire due to the charm placed on the Torii gate to prevent any spirits from entering, and uses her psychic powers to throw him into the river. She then removes the charm to allow Okarun in and gives him a change of clothes. After listening to his reason as to why he wanted to confront her when they first met, Momo replies that she's willing to develop a friendship with him despite making the assumption that it was not quite possible. Momo then hears the sound of the doorbell for evil spirits and realizes that ghosts are able to enter her home due to her taking off the charm on the entrance. The two cautiously try to walk back to the gate to put the charm back, but are shocked to see that the area is surrounded by a harmful black fog. The Torii Gate, as well as the way back inside the house, is blocked by a sudden wall, and a giant alien known as the Flatwoods Monster starts to attack. As their only option, Okarun has Momo partially suppress his cursed body to use the Turbo Granny's speed and manages to deal damage. Noticing how the Flatwoods Monster resembles a sumo wrestler, Momo sees that the only way they can defeat it is if they make the alien's hand touch the ground. After Okarun damages its right leg, Momo uses her psychic powers to force the alien to fall, causing its hand to dissolve. However, the alien manages to keep itself upright after growing an extra pair of legs, much to Momo's shock. She's then met with danger after the alien starts to pummel her to the wall blocking the Torii Gate. Though badly injured, Momo manages to place the charm back on the gate and uses her powers to send Okarun to her, and disintegrates the Flatwoods Monster. Having exhausted all of her efforts, Momo passes out right when Okarun starts to turn into the Turbo Granny. Before the possessed Okarun could harm her, Momo's grandmother arrives to save her. After waking up, Momo becomes concerned about Okarun and goes to see her grandmother downstairs, who tells her that she locked him in the shrine. She then immediately rushes over to his location and sees that he is okay after returning to normal, but closes the door for worrying too much due to her grandmother's earlier response about having killed the ghost. After explaining to her grandmother the situation with Okarun being cursed and how she has awakened her psychic powers, Momo is told by Psycho that the only way they can defeat the ghost is if they can draw it out of its bound territory in a game of tag. Knowing that the task will be difficult, Momo and Okarun undergo training with Psycho as their instructor. However, during the middle of the training session, Momo is warned by Turbo Granny possessing Okarun that it will kill everyone around him if they don't come to the tunnel as demanded, with her grandmother being used in his example. Having no choice, Momo agrees to confront the Turbo Granny with Okarun while also swearing vengeance for hurting her grandmother. The two enter the tunnel and encounter the Turbo Granny, who blocks their exit and hinders Okarun from using its powers against it. As the Turbo Granny commences its assault on them, Momo remembers her grandmother's words on how she needs to goad the ghost into a game of tag to defeat it, and challenges Turbo Granny, to which it accepts. Momo makes the Turbo Granny count for 10 minutes and runs off with Okarun. However, Momo is trapped by the Turbo Granny after it tricks them by counting in a different way to 10 minutes. The Turbo Granny then manages to completely take over Okarun's body, but is soon suppressed by Momo's psychic powers, using her sense of touch within her confines. With the Turbo Granny sealed within Okarun, Momo and Okarun encounter the Earthbound Spirit, who chases them through Shono City. While riding on Okarun's back using Turbo Granny's powers, Momo comes up with the idea of leading the Earthbound Spirit into an onsen in order to boil it, since it takes on the appearance of a giant crab. Momo and Okarun immediately try to escape the town's borders, but find themselves ambushed by people being possessed by spirits from a nearby graveyard. Using Okarun's cursed speed, the two break through the possessed crowd. However, Momo accidentally lets go of the Turbo Granny within Okarun and is confronted by the fused spirits. Turbo Granny tells Momo that she will give her 10 minutes to flee with an unconscious Okarun before she kills them, but is told by the girl she will be able to get away from her within 1 second. Using her psychic powers, Momo grabs onto a moving train while holding onto Okarun and tricks Turbo Granny into chasing them, since she knew that the train was heading outside of Shono City, where her grandmother had set up a trap for the yokai. To prevent the Turbo Granny from escaping, Momo uses her psychic powers and successfully exorcises the Turbo Granny once they made it out of the city, and then witnesses a few girls emerging from the giant crab body. After finishing their job, Momo, Okarun, and Seiko return to the tunnel to pay their respects to the deceased girls, who were revealed to have been murdered there and were comforted by the Turbo Granny, which touches Momo's heart. The three of them then celebrate their victory, and by the time Momo had to say goodbye to Okarun, she tells him that she will meet up with him tomorrow at school. Acrobatic Silky Arc. The next day, Momo keeps her word in meeting Okarun and talks to him until they had to go to their separate classes. She then becomes anxious to talk to him again and tries to find him during lunch, but is unlucky in her search. After failing to find him, Momo starts to think to herself that he is trying to avoid her and becomes depressed. As she starts to walk off, Momo accidentally bumps her face into Okarun's, who is also looking for her, and they're caught by their friends who mistook their earlier incident as a kiss. Momo and Okarun both deny this, but it results in insulting each other in the process, causing the two to not want to talk to each other anymore. After returning to class, Momo is hounded by her friends after they had heard about her accidental kiss, which causes her to become annoyed. She then finds her situation becoming worse after Okarun comes to tell her that his kintama is mysteriously missing. Momo tells him that she didn't want to talk to him for the time being, but starts to feel bad after making him feel depressed. Later, Momo spots Okarun walking with a random girl and wonders if she was a friend. She then becomes mad at the girl after she overhears her talking to her friends about how she was just messing with Okarun into making him fall for her, and uses her psychic powers to make a tub fall on top of her head. Momo meets back with Okarun and decides to walk back home with him, while also apologizing for the way she had treated him. After returning home with Okarun, Momo begins to laugh hysterically over Okarun's predicament in that despite getting back his family jewels from the Turbo Granny, his kintama is missing. As Seiko inspects him, Momo is ordered to bring a doll and a wash bowl, explaining that something is inside of him. Using a giant harisen, Seiko smacks Okarun over the head and asks Momo if she saw anything strange, to which she explains that she saw his aura turn blue for a second. Momo is then instructed by Seiko to use her psychic powers to pull out this aura the moment it turns that color. After doing what was instructed, Momo and the others become shocked to see the cat doll running away and restrain it. The doll is revealed to be Turbo Granny, who managed to escape being exorcised after hiding herself within Okarun. Momo hears Turbo Granny's plans for revenge, but tells the spirit doll that she and the others are in charge of her as long as she is in that body. However, the Turbo Granny strikes back by telling them that if she dies, then Okarun will not be able to find his kintama, and demands that he kill Momo and Seiko in exchange for letting him have them back. This causes Okarun to transform unintentionally, much to Momo and Turbo Granny's shock. Seiko reveals that while the Turbo Granny's consciousness was transferred over to the doll, her powers remained in Okarun. Though she had threatened them, Momo tells the Turbo Granny that she could not bring herself to hate her since she was carrying towards the deceased girls in the tunnel, and makes a deal with her in that she will give her back her powers in exchange for helping find Okarun's kintama. The Turbo Granny agrees to cooperate, but unfortunately tells her that she had lost them. Momo and Okarun then go out to search for them during the night, but end up with no luck. The next day in school, Momo meets up with Okarun but finds him running away from her for some unknown reason, prompting Momo to chase after him in confusion. While in class, Momo wonders as to why Okarun has been trying to avoid her, and then is told by her friend that Okarun defended her from a few boys in his class that were talking rudely, much to her surprise. She then meets back with Okarun on the roof with Turbo Granny by his side, who explains to the two that one of Okarun's kintama may have been taken by a human at the school, and that she spotted a mysterious lady. Before they could continue the search, Momo is approached by Ira Shiratori, the girl who was making fun of Okarun yesterday, and is asked to meet with her in private. Momo agrees to talk with her to avoid any problems and tells Okarun to continue the search without her. After following her to an abandoned building, Momo finds herself restrained and handcuffed by Ira and her friends. Believing that she is a demon after seeing one of Momo's psychic hands the other day, Ira tries to exorcise her, much to Momo's annoyance. Using her powers, Momo pushes the girls off of her and comes to learn that Ira has one of Okarun's kintama. She then sees Okarun rushing in and informs him that Ira has one of his kintama, and that she is the strange lady that Turbo Granny was talking about. However, after Ira is suddenly grabbed by a mysterious yokai, Momo learns from Okarun that the strange lady is actually the yokai named Acrobatic Silky that has been stalking Ira. Since she was restrained, Momo tells Okarun to transform and save Ira. However, Acrobatic Silky dodges all of Okarun's attacks and tries to swallow him. Momo tries to use her psychic powers to free him, but is kicked away. After getting back up, Momo witnesses Ira also being swallowed after the girl provoked the yokai, and is thrashed around by her for thinking that she is to blame for Ira's rejection against her. Momo is then told by Acrobatic Silky that she's willing to let her go if she were to call her mommy, but refuses, resulting in her being swallowed along with the others. However, using the rosary lighter Ira used in her attempt to exorcise Momo, Momo lights Acrobatic Silky hairs on fire to have the yokai vomit her. With an idea already in mind on how to defeat her, Momo tells Okarun to have Acrobatic Silky run after him. After chasing him around the building, Momo's plan of having Acrobatic Silky's hair tangled up to restrict her movements becomes a success, and defeats her after Okarun launches himself at the yokai. The two then manage to acquire one of Okarun's kintama from an unconscious Ira, but is informed by the Turbo Granny that Ira is actually dead. As Momo and Okarun try to bring her back to life, Acrobatic Silky insists that she help by having Momo transfer her aura into Ira, and reassures Momo that she will not try to eat her by ripping her jaw apart. Momo takes her word and connects Acrobatic Silky's aura with Ira's, which causes Momo to peer into Acrobatic Silky's sad memories of the time she was still alive. Momo then starts to cry, having felt pity for the yokai, and sees that Ira is successfully brought back, resulting in Acrobatic Silky's body crumbling away. Momo then becomes touched as Ira hugs Acrobatic Silky, which allows the yokai to pass away peacefully. Serpo Arc. After saving her life, Momo invites Ira to her home to have lunch. Thinking that she hates her for dropping the basin on her the other day, Momo apologizes for her actions and asks that she apologize to Okarun for playing with his emotions when they first met. Ira makes it clear to Momo that she doesn't hold a grudge towards her for that incident, and that the real reason is because she believes that she is a demon and her enemy. Momo tries to convince Ira that she is not who she accuses her of being, but ends up getting into an argument with the girl after she refuses to believe a single word of what she says. After Ira makes her leave, Momo, Seiko, and the Turbo Granny help to return one of Okarun's kintama back to his lower body. Back at school, Momo suggests to Okarun to meet at the rooftop during lunch to discuss finding his second kintama, but is told by him that he had to finish a report. While choosing to spend her lunchtime with her friends, Momo starts to feel suspicious of Okarun and hears her friend's speculation about him seeing someone. Momo denies this, but receives an image of Aira in her head in response. After going out to get a couple drinks, Momo starts to wonder why she feels troubled after thinking about Okarun and dismisses the idea of visiting him since she figured that he had to focus on finishing his report. However, after walking near the courtyard, Momo becomes shocked to find Okarun on top of Aira. After coming to the conclusion that Okarun lied to her in order to fool around with Aira, Momo walks away feeling completely mad and refuses to hear him out on what she just saw. Shortly after feeling depressed in class about the incident earlier, Momo finds the floor flooded with water, the outside of the school pitch black, and the windows locked. She then hides herself from a giant snake-like creature that appears in the halls, but causes it to notice a puddle noise she made, and it reacts by blasting the walls, but it misses her. Once the creature leaves, Momo walks out to find Okarun. Upon finding him, Momo finds a naked Okarun and Aira subdued by the Serpos, who plan to extract their reproductive organs to gain their powers. Momo helps free them by repelling the Serpos' psychokinesis and makes a remark to Okarun about his situation being karma for what happened earlier. Momo hears Okarun expressing his relief that she is here, but tells him not to speak any further due to his state of dress. She then becomes surprised to see that Aira's appearance has been altered to look like acrobatic Silky. Aira agrees to cooperate with Momo to defeat the Serpos, but tells her that she will not let her have Ken Takakura, causing her to faint as a result of hearing her idol's name and leaving Okarun and Aira affected by the Serpos' powers. She then gets back on her feet to repel the Serpos' psychokinesis and allow Okarun and Aira to fight back against the newly changed Dover demon. However, after the conflict between the two sides is interrupted by the water flooding the area, Momo believes that the situation has gotten worse after noticing a shadowy creature swimming beneath her, Okarun, and Aira. After they witness the water monster Nessie attack one of the Serpos, the three swim away in a panic, but are hindered from their escape after the Dover demon appears and sends Aira flying upwards into the watery roof to drown. To defend themselves, Momo instructs Okarun to attack in his Turbo Granny form, but unfortunately realizes that the Turbo Granny's powers do not allow him to swim, leaving him with no other option but to swim away with Momo in his normal body. Seeing as how Aira is still in danger of drowning, Momo hears Okarun's plan to distract the alien while she gets below Aira to pull her out, but retorts by telling him not to make the situation more difficult than it already is. Thinking that this has something to do with him and Aira's earlier incident, Momo gets into an argument with Okarun, but is quickly pulled down by him to avoid another attack from the Dover demon. After being submerged, Momo comes up with the idea to use her psychic powers to propel Okarun up to Aira while riding on top of his back and manages to save her. After she and Aira get rid of their clothing, since it was making it difficult for them to move while being submerged in water, Momo tells Okarun and Aira that they need to prepare themselves to fight back at full strength in order to beat the aliens. However, the three soon find out that the situation has gotten worse after a Serpo, the Dover demon, and Nessie have fused together. They then flee from the Serpo Dover demon Nessie as he starts to unleash blasts of high compression water at them. After seeing the fused alien recharge by absorbing water in his gills, Momo, Okarun, and Aira realize they need to target the monster's neck to cease his assault. However, after the monster counters Aira's attempted attack with a punch, Momo realizes that the Dover demon's strength makes up for Nessie's weaknesses. As they try to avoid being hit by the Serpo Dover demon Nessie's air-compressed punches, Momo comes up with an idea to defeat the fused alien after hearing Okarun make a point about the mantis shrimp's punches being strong in water, but is separated from him and Aira after the Serpo Dover demon Nessie lands a hit. The Serpo Dover demon Nessie approaches Momo as she starts to lose air, but states that it is prepared to kill and dissect her after viewing her as being dangerous. Before it could land its attack on her, Momo uses her psychic powers to split open the body of water and causes the Serpo Dover demon Nessie's mantis shrimp arms to rip open, knowing that it would not be able to withstand the shock from its own punch when out of the water. Momo is then caught between the demon's teeth as it dives down to drown her and prepare for another high compression water blast. However, Momo is saved after Okarun, with help from Aira, launches himself to destroy the demon. With these Serpos defeated, Momo, Okarun, and Aira find themselves exposed in the halls after the alien's barrier device is dispelled and run away in panic after they're seen by their classmates. Later, the three enter the school's infirmary after requiring new clothes and answer to the school's nurse about their earlier situation. After the nurse leaves to handle another matter, Momo hears Okarun's theory about the connection between yokais and aliens, but states that she fails to understand the point he was trying to make. Momo then moves the topic back to their earlier embarrassment with their classmates and hears Aira coming up with the idea of blaming her for the incident, to which Momo says that she was okay with that. After Aira's friends come to pick her up, Momo is left alone with Okarun and asks that he explain himself as to what happened between him and Aira at lunch. Okarun answers that he accidentally fell on top of her in the midst of doing private training, which he was doing all for the purpose of having Momo see him as cool. Momo finds this to be funny and teases Okarun after becoming eager to know why he wanted her to see him as cool. Okarun states to her that he has given his answer completely and prepares to walk out, while also promising that he will not blame Momo for the incident. Before she could allow him to leave, Momo stops him after figuring that she had something to say back to him. However, Momo is interrupted by her friends who are under the impression that Momo and Aira were fighting over Okarun while in their lingerie, much to Momo's dismay. Outside, Momo finds Aira and asks if she went through with spreading the false story. Though she hears her answer that she did, Momo states that she had her doubts since they took note at how she was alone by herself and figures that she lied to her. The two are then approached by the Dover demon who attempts to fight them again for the sake of earning money for his family. Momo and Aira put up their guard but suddenly see the alien fall unconscious after exhausting himself. With help from Okarun and Aira, Momo decides to take the Dover demon back to her house to help him recover. Upon waking up, Momo points to the Dover demon as proof for her grandmother that aliens exist, but hears her disagreement after thinking that he is a kappa. After noticing the gig worker trying to get out of bed, Momo tells him not to try to do anything with them, but notices him looking down at the plate of curry they prepared. The group then watches as the Dover demon cries after being treated so kindly, and swears to them that he will no longer try to harm them. After they finish dinner, Momo and the others hear the Dover demon's dilemma with earning money for his son's blood transfusion. She then hears Okarun willingly offering his kintama to help him earn money, but objects to the idea since the alien needed to earn money on a daily basis. To help solve his problem, Seiko offers the Dover demon a cow from a farmer she knows after she realizes the alien blood is similar to milk. After the Dover demon happily leaves with the cow on his spacecraft, Momo begs her grandmother to buy new uniforms for her, Okarun, and Aira. Though she agrees to help, Seiko states her decision to leave Momo out since she saw right through her scheme to use her financially and forces her to make a Hiroshi Abe facial expression until she's satisfied. After answering the doorbell, Momo unexpectedly sees Gigi at her doorstep, her childhood friend and first crush, and quickly becomes irritated with his behavior. Momo then reacts in shock after learning from her grandmother that Gigi will be moving in with them and soon finds herself being accused by Aira of trying to gather allies. As Okarun prepares to go home, Momo requests that he say goodbye to her before he leaves, since she was the one who did so last time and hears him comply. After all the guests leave, Momo learns from Seiko that she offered Gigi residence in their home after his parents were hospitalized. Momo then receives an apology from Gigi for mocking her when they were children, and hears about his problems with a spirit haunting his house and came to Seiko for help. Despite this agreement to help him, Momo is told by Seiko that she will be the one to deal with Gigi's problem, since her powers only work within Kamigoe City, and this situation may have something to do with one of Okarun's kintama. She also agrees to buy Momo new uniforms if she completes this assignment. Cursed House Arc. The next day in class, Momo watches as Gigi makes his introduction to her classmates and tries to ignore him after he's seated next to her. However, after he starts telling her friends that they live together and are a couple, Momo reacts with annoyance and tries to strangle Gigi. Later, Momo finds and joins Okarun for lunch, and they're soon joined by Gigi, who offers Momo a special flavored yogurt, much to her delight. In an unexpected turn of events, Momo hears Okarun calling out to her and becomes shocked to see an alive anatomical model running towards her direction. Before she could use her powers to stop it, Gigi grabs Momo and moves her out of the way of the model's path. After the model jumps over them, Momo notices a shiny ball attached to its crotch and believes that it's one of Okarun's kintama, leading to her using her powers to grab the model and retrieve it. However, she's unable to stop its momentum and is pulled in its direction, along with Gigi continuing to hold on to her as it hurries to a certain destination. While being pulled by the anatomical model, Momo warns Okarun that the model has a golden ball. Momo tries to grab Okarun's hand after he catches up to the anatomical model in his turbo granny, but is pulled away after the model climbs and runs on top of a building. Momo then tries to use her power to grab onto Okarun, but winds up being in danger of being hit by a moving bus. However, Okarun comes in to pull her and Gigi out of the way and onto his back as he continues to chase after the anatomical model. While still having a firm psychic grip on it, Momo orders Okarun to plant his feet on the ground just as she and Gigi try to pull the model towards them. Momo, Okarun, and Gigi then witness in disgust as the anatomical model disassembles its body to free itself from Momo's grip and manages to escape from their sight. Luckily, using the heart she grabbed onto after the anatomical model split itself apart, Momo thinks of the idea of tracking it down by listening to its screams of pain as she punches the heart, which leads them to finding it at a junkyard. Momo reassures it that they have no intention of harming it and tells the anatomical model that she will give back its heart if it shows her its golden ball that she thinks belongs to Okarun. The three then hear a voice coming from the pile of garbage and watch as the anatomical model runs toward it, revealing a female anatomical model named Hana, who is the one that the male anatomical model named Taro was looking for, due to the two being in love with each other. Wanting to help the two of them, the three decide to take Hana back to Momo's house and beg Seiko to allow her to stay, while Taro remains at the school, to which she complies. Momo also reports back that the shiny ball Taro had around its crotch that she thought was one of Okarun's kintama is actually a Christmas ornament. While getting dinner ready, Momo is complimented by Gigi on how well she handled the situation with Taro and becomes amused by his playfulness. She then finds herself caught in the middle of Okarun and Gigi strangely singing a duet. After Seiko demands that they remain quiet, Momo is told by her grandmother to pack her things for tomorrow as she was about to stay at Gigi's house over the weekend to lift the curse. She then hears Okarun's shock assumption that it will just be her and Gigi together for the exorcism, and reassures him that she was planning on bringing him along to feel at ease. Hearing this, Okarun declares to Momo and Gigi that they will have to resolve the problem quickly to have Gigi return home. The next day in the morning, Momo waits outside with Hana for Taro's arrival. Although Taro was running late, Momo assures Hana that he will come and she'll stay by her side until he arrives, but falls asleep. Momo wakes up shortly after to find Taro with Hana and becomes shocked to learn that Taro plans on visiting Hana frequently. While taking the train to Gigi's house, Momo starts to have fun playing card games with Okarun and Gigi, and becomes fascinated about hearing about the Tsuchinoko and a shrine dedicated to it in Gigi's village. After arriving at his house, Momo is asked by Gigi if she senses any strange aura being emitted, to which she says that she doesn't sense anything and wishes to rest after becoming tired walking a flight of stairs to get to the house. Momo also finds that there's nothing strange within the house either and comes to the conclusion that the dangerous spirit is hiding, which prevents her from sensing its spirit energy. However, Momo believes that the situation will be easy for her and that they will have to wait until nightfall for when the spirit is most active. With this planned out, Momo decides to visit the hot springs for the time being. While in the bath, Momo wonders if Okarun is getting along with Gigi since he is his first male friend, and she believes that she will only get in the way if she were to stick around. After becoming lightheaded from staying in the bath for too long though, Momo prepares to get out. She becomes surprised to see a few men walking in to join her and learns that the bath is mixed. Momo finds herself unable to get out since the men were blocking her path to the exit and sees them all swimming towards her with ill intentions. To make them back away from her, Momo comes up with the idea of using her powers on the one in front to scare up the others, but has her hands restrained and becomes too lightheaded to fight back. However, Momo is saved after a piece of statue behind her breaks off and hits the man holding her hands. Momo then witnesses the walls starting to mysteriously fall down on the men, stopping them from pursuing Momo in the process, and becomes shocked to find Turbo Granny in the bath, who revealed that she secretly snuck into her backpack after realizing that Gigi's village has a hot spring for her to enjoy. After managing to get dressed, Momo sees the police chasing after the men, who were revealed to be part of the Kito family, and states she hopes they catch them. She then thanks Turbo Granny for helping her and asks for her judgment on Gigi's house, to which the yokai states that she can sense the house being covered in human blood. Momo takes a quick visit to the Tsuchinoko shrine to see the cryptid and learns of its legends from the monk working at the shrine, which is that the village would make human sacrifices to prevent the Tsuchinoko from causing the village's volcano to erupt. She then becomes disappointed to learn that the Tsuchinoko at the shrine is actually the shedded skin of the snake, which is used to attract tourists. After returning back to Gigi's house, Momo becomes shocked to find Okarun and Gigi beaten on the floor and the men who previously tried to attack her at the hot springs, along with the rest of the Kito family. She then defends herself from the family, ends up crashing back into a hidden room covered in talismans, and learns from the Kito family that they have been the ones responsible for ceasing the village's volcano's eruption for the past 200 years by making human sacrifices to the Tsuchinoko as told in legends. With this said, Momo realizes that Gigi's parents were also used as sacrifices and looks up in shock to see the room being abnormal. She then makes an attempt to escape after the floor turns to quicksand but is knocked back by the Kito family, who refuses to let her leave. After Okarun and Gigi regain consciousness, the two knock members of the Kito family into the room and try to pull Momo out of the quicksand. However, both Momo, Okarun, Gigi, and the Kito family are ultimately sent down to the inner pit, where the Tsuchinoko resides within the house. After the cryptid makes its appearance, the Turbo Granny and Okarun confirm that the Tsuchinoko is actually a kuragari, a giant man-eating earthworm. While the Kito family present the three children as offerings to the beast, Momo tries to warn them of what the Tsuchinoko actually is, but becomes shocked after it attacks the family. Momo, Okarun, and Gigi then start to panic as there is nowhere to escape the Tsuchinoko's rampaging and decide to hide in one of the underground houses they're on top of. After entering, Momo and Okarun fall victim to the Tsuchinoko's psychic waves that is forcing them to commit suicide. Using the shards of glass on the ground, Momo tries to stab herself in the stomach but is blocked by Turbo Granny after the spirit doll somehow finds herself between Momo and the piece of glass. She then uses her powers to first attack Gigi, restrain the Turbo Granny, and make another attempt at suicide by levitating a piece of glass that she has aimed towards her throat. Gigi, who comes in to block the shard with his arm, carries Momo, Okarun, and the Turbo Granny out of the house, and tries to avoid the Tsuchinoko targeting him. After falling down the stairs, Gigi accidentally lets go of Momo and Okarun and prevents them from falling down the house. As Gigi is confronted by the Tsuchinoko while holding onto Momo and Okarun, the spirit that has been haunting Gigi appears in front of the Tsuchinoko, which then leads to Momo and Okarun regaining their senses. The group then learns from the Turbo Granny that the spirit is known as the Evil Eye, a spirit that causes humans to commit suicide, which is being used to cancel out the Tsuchinoko's psychic waves on Momo and Okarun. With the Tsuchinoko motionless, Momo sees Okarun using the chance to enter his Turbo Granny form to launch himself and decapitate the beast. However, the damage proves to be ineffective after the Tsuchinoko regrows its head and goes after Momo, Gigi, and Turbo Granny. Momo then witnesses the Evil Eye having Gigi gaze into his eyes and tries to pull him off, but is suddenly told by Gigi not to after he comes to learn the Evil Eye's tragic backstory. She then chases after Gigi as he descends down to the room where the Evil Eye's corpse is. After arriving, Momo listens as Gigi and the Turbo Granny debate over whether they should help the Evil Eye, and requests that they calm down and explain to her on what the body in the room was. The three then find themselves electrocuted by the Tsuchinoko and stuck to the floor by the earthworm's adhesive slime. With the Turbo Granny's good fortune not working, along with Okarun being too exhausted to move around for help, Momo attempts to escape with Gigi using her powers and turns around to see him lifeless and screaming in pain due to the Evil Eye's influence. After being electrocuted once more, Momo looks up to see the Tsuchinoko diving down to swallow her and the others while they're stuck to the floor. However, Momo is saved after she witnesses Gigi punching the Tsuchinoko, but realizes that he has become possessed by the Evil Eye, who states his intentions of eliminating the human race. After the Evil Eye takes control of Gigi's body, Momo is warned by the Turbo Granny to have her powers ready to defend herself against him, but becomes too late after the spirit instantly sends her crashing to the wall with a kick. While using her powers to defend herself against his second kick, Momo yells out to Gigi to return to normal, only to be told by the Evil Eye that he now owns her friend's body and is prepared to show her what true hell is like, but turns his attention to attacking the Tsuchinoko after it interferes. Momo finds out from the Turbo Granny that, according to her grandmother's theory, the Evil Eye has been staying close to Gigi since he found him to be a suitable vessel to possess, and is now their enemy. After the Tsuchinoko retreats underground from taking damage from the Evil Eye, Momo is once again targeted by the Evil Eye, who kicks a cursed ball towards her. Momo uses her powers to block the attack, but is sent crashing back after the Evil Eye comes in to punch her from the side. She's then left wide open for the Evil Eye to prepare another attack. However, Momo is quickly saved by Okarun after he arrives on time in his Turbo Granny form to block the Evil Eye, much to her relief. Momo and Okarun distance themselves from the Evil Eye and notice that the Tsuchinoko had created a fungus to cover the area with venom, making it a problem for them to stay underground for too long. Momo becomes conflicted with their current situation concerning the Tsuchinoko, their plan to escape, and Gigi being possessed by the Evil Eye, and then hears Okarun making a request to be left behind to handle Gigi while she makes it out. Momo is hesitant to abandon him, but after hearing Okarun's resolution to handle matters underground, she agrees to go along with his plan and promises to come back to save him later. Using a chair, Momo is launched into the air by Okarun, propels herself mid-flight by using her powers, and uses it once again to pull herself up to the top of the ceiling. After returning back inside the house, Momo tries to quickly fashion a rope to pull Okarun out, but sees that it's not long enough to reach the bottom, causing her to desperately come up with another plan. Having gotten a flashback to her childhood with Gigi, Momo manages to come up with an idea and executes it by setting the house on fire and calling the fire department. After admitting to starting the fire, Momo is ordered by a police officer to come with him to the station for questioning, which causes her to worry that her plan will fail as she notices the sun about to set. As a last-ditch effort, Momo desperately yells out to the firemen to hose the ground instead of the house and starts to be detained by the police from getting any closer to the house. Momo and the other people around then suddenly start to feel the ground shaking and witness the Tsuchinoko appearing out of the house, much to Momo's relief since it was her plan to force the Tsuchinoko outside, having remembered her childhood memories with Gigi about how a worm is unable to breathe underground when it's full of water, and will end up drying up once exposed to sunlight, which starts to happen with the Tsuchinoko. However, seeing the giant earthworm use the house as cover from the sun, Momo uses her powers to destroy it by throwing a fire truck, successfully causing the Tsuchinoko to fall victim to the sun's rays and die. She gets in close to check to see if the Tsuchinoko is completely dead, and Momo panics after it starts to move to vomit out the Kito family, much to her surprise to see that they managed to stay alive. Momo then hears the head Kito family member blaming her for killing the Tsuchinoko, but refuses to hear any more from her to go back and save her friends at the pit. However, as the ground starts to shake, Momo witnesses the village volcano erupting and is told by the head Kito family member that it was her fault. After hearing the head member remind her of the village legend, Momo realizes its true meaning and corrects her, stating that the legend was directed towards the fountain located at the hot springs, and takes action by using her powers to carry the end of the Tsuchinoko's remains all the way to the fountain, where she plugs it with the earthworm's anus. Figuring that the Tsuchinoko can act as a large hose, Momo cools down the magma in the forest as the water starts to pump the Tsuchinoko's mucus out from its mouth. Her plan starts to work, but Momo becomes conflicted with figuring out a way to cool down the entire forest and is met with hindrance from the Kito family as they try to stop her from taking credit with protecting their land. However, Momo is defended by the priest she met a while ago and learns from him that he is a student of her grandmother, who was improperly ordered over the phone by his master to look over her granddaughter and her friends. She then resumes with cooling down the forest, but is yet again met with another problem after the evil eye shows up to damage the Tsuchinoko's house and attack the Kito family. After saving the head member and the priest from being attacked by him, Momo begs the evil eye to stop his rampaging and to tell her where Okarun was, only to hear his refusal to answer. With no other choice, Momo fights back against the evil eye with the priest and the head Kito family member, but ends up being no match. As the evil eye is about to come in to attack her, Momo is saved by the sudden arrival of the Dover demon. She then looks up in shock to see a UFO lowering down Seiko and Taro as they face the evil eye and have it sealed inside of the anatomical model. With the Dover demon's son Chiquitita controlling the UFO to hose down the forest fire with the Tsuchinoko corpse, Momo runs with the Dover demon to save Okarun. Upon arriving at the spot, Momo becomes horrified to see the pit filled with lava. Hoping that there is still time to save Okarun, Momo yells out to Chiquitita to cool down the lava pit as she prepares to dive down to find him. However, she is stopped by the Dover demon from committing this reckless act and hears Chiquitita also stating his objection, causing her to beg them to somehow save Okarun. Using the UFO's levitating beam, Chiquitita pulls out a large chunk of magma rock from the lava and sprays it down with the Tsuchinoko's mucus, followed by Momo prying it open and finding Okarun and the Turbo Granny alive inside, much to her relief. As she lets Okarun in on the situation concerning the possessed Gigi, Momo hears him apologizing for not keeping his word and handling the evil eye, and accidentally falls on her after having his foot caught in the mucus. Momo then places her hands around Okarun and gives her apology for not keeping her word and saving him personally, but tells him that she's glad that he's alive. At the Ayase residence, Momo helps with Seiko and Manjiro with exorcising the evil eye out of Gigi, but to no success as the evil eye remains active and tells them that their attempts were futile. She then has dinner with her grandmother and friends and hears a complaint from Ira for not being invited to the Cursed House mission, to which Momo asks her why she was here in the first place. Along with learning of the Dover demon's decision to have him and his son stay on Earth, Momo overhears Seiko and Manjiro's conversation on trying to exorcise the evil eye from Gigi, and worries as Manjiro states that it may be impossible to return Gigi back to normal. The group's attention is then turned toward Taro's reaction to having his mouth burned from eating the hot oden, and becoming shocked to suddenly hear Gigi's voice coming from inside the anatomical model. Upon having Taro open up his face, Momo and the others see that Gigi has returned to normal. Momo then turns to Seiko to explain how this happened, leading to her grandmother discovering by splashing Gigi with different temperature water that the evil eye is able to resurface from anything hot, while Gigi is able to resurface from anything cold. After this discovery, Momo hears Seiko's apology to her, Okarun, and Gigi for accidentally having them get mixed up with the evil eye, but she asks that she stop since it was unlike her. To keep Gigi under control while he remained at the Ayase residence, Momo and Okarun are tasked by Seiko to hold onto hot water thermoses to splash Gigi with in the event of the evil eye resurfacing from anything cold. After they finish having dinner, Momo, Okarun, and Iris say their goodbyes to the Dover demon, and they learn that his real name is Peeny Weenie, but they stick to calling him Mr. Mantis Shrimp and Chiquitita as they head home. The next day, Seiko and Manjiro take Gigi to meet his parents, along with having Momo and Okarun accompanying him as per their task. While on the road, Momo sees Okarun reacting to having his hand touched by hers and assures him that she did not have a problem with it, which then leads to Momo playfully fiddling with his hand while the two blushed. After being interrupted by Gigi, who complains to Momo about Taro not allowing him to move his body freely while wearing him, Momo suggests buying something for his parents and hopes that they're getting better. At the hospital, Momo, Okarun, and Taro become happy for Gigi as they watch from afar as he is emotionally reunited with his fully recovered parents. Noticing how Taro is not allowing Gigi movement during this moment, Momo tells him to give Gigi body language, which leads to Gigi moving weirdly in front of his parents and Momo criticizing Taro on his poor performance. Evil Eye Arc. While walking to school with Okarun, Momo explains to him about the plan to hire Hayashi performers to expel the evil eye from Gigi. The two are then met by Miko and Muko, who inform them that Mr. Mantis Shrimp's spacecraft made the news. After arriving at school, Momo meets and drags Ira outside to talk to her and Okarun about having them sleep over at her house to keep an eye on Gigi in case he goes berserk as the evil eye, which they agreed to do. On the first night, Momo, Okarun, Seiko, and the Turbo Granny try to stop the evil eye. On at least 2 occasions, Gigi touched cold liquids, and end up leaving the Ayase house partially destroyed in the process. After Momo manages to splash hot water on the evil eye to keep him suppressed, the group are met by the Hayashi performers hired by Seiko, and become entertained by their musical performance as they begin the exorcism. As Gigi starts to move during the exorcism, Momo follows Seiko's orders in restraining him with her powers, which results in her receiving a slight glimpse of the evil eye's past. The group then hears Gigi crying out to them to stop the performance, explaining to them that the evil eye wishes to have someone to play with, which he promised that he would do, and begs them not to kill the yokai. Momo, Okarun, and Aira then become shocked to see Seiko complying with his request, which leads to Okarun also honoring his request as well by promising to become strong enough to keep the evil eye in check. Hearing this, Momo also supports her by agreeing to do the same, followed by Aira's support after promising Momo that she would become stronger than her. The group then finds themselves having to once again keep Gigi under control after it unexpectedly starts to rain. After managing to do so, the Hayashi performers prepare to make their leave and tell Momo and Seiko to get in contact with them again if they need their help a second time, which Momo jokingly states to them that it was most likely to happen. Momo then expresses her depression to Seiko in knowing that it will be cold inside their home now after it had been damaged, and is ordered by her to get cardboard boxes from the supermarket to temporarily fix their problem. With the house needing repairs, Momo decides to seek a part-time job to earn money and applies to be a waitress at a maid cafe. Later, she's visited by Miko and Muko, who dragged Okarun with them to see Momo, much to her embarrassment and Okarun's shock. After serving them, Momo gets mad at her friends for coming to her place of work to feel embarrassed and demanded that they leave. While the two girls make their leave, Okarun insists to Momo that he stay to walk her home after she finishes with work. Despite the generosity, Momo tells Okarun that she will be okay looking after herself, giving him enough assurance to leave her be. However, after finishing work, Momo sees Okarun coming her way to take her home, hearing from him how he can't allow himself to leave a girl to walk alone at night. Momo complies with Okarun and chooses to hold onto his hand while he escorts her home, telling him that the reason was because it was cold. Upon returning home, Momo becomes confronted by the evil eye after Gigi accidentally gets splashed by Aira's cold drink and is prevented from using the hot water thermos to turn Gigi back to normal after the evil eye uses his cursed house to restrain her hands and keep her boxed in. Luckily, having drank some hot water prior to the yokai's release, Momo manages to suppress the evil eye after spitting the undrunk water on him. She is then checked by Okarun but assures him that she was okay. Later at night, Momo hears Aira's apology for not being careful enough around Gigi and tells her that she did not hold the incident against her. With the evil eye still not under control, Manjiro tells Momo, Seiko, and Gigi that their best course of action would be to perform another exorcism to lower the chances of anyone getting killed, much to Momo's objection. Their attention is then drawn towards Okarun after he calls out for Gigi to come and face him outside, having made up his mind to beat the evil eye in a fight. Just as Okarun gains the upper hand against the evil eye, his transformation becomes undone after using up all of his power in his last attack. With the evil eye still standing, Momo yells out to Seiko to help him but is warned by her that she may have to exorcise the yokai if she gets involved. Despite not being able to continue fighting, Okarun manages to take control of the situation by striking a deal with the evil eye. The deal being that the yokai does not fight anyone but him on a weekly basis. Having done so, the evil eye gives Gigi full control of his body until the time comes for him and Okarun to fight again. While on the sidelines, Momo and Aira try not to look at Gigi after the evil eye had given Okarun his underwear, having been informed that it refused to go along with their agreement. With the matter with the evil eye finally settled, Momo says her goodbyes to Manjiro, Gigi, Aira, and Okarun as they head home and prepare to relax at hers. However, with her house completely destroyed as a result of Okarun's fight with the evil eye, Seiko decides on putting the matter of repairing their dwelling on hold and instead relaxes at a hot spring. As they head back, Momo suggests to Seiko in asking their friends for help, but hears her grandmother's refusal to do so. Upon arriving, Momo and Seiko find themselves face to face with an alien and respond by kicking him away due to him trespassing. The two then see Okarun, who came with Aira, Mr. Mantis Shrimp, and Chiquitita, and are informed by him that the alien named Mr. Ludris is here to help repair the house using nanoskin. After Seiko reluctantly gives in to their generosity, Momo works with the others to remodel the house. Kaiju Arc. After they finish remaking the house, Momo thanks Okarun and Aira for their help and tells Okarun that he is welcome to come by again anytime, after he comments on how he's come to view the Ayase house as his home as well. Once everyone has left, Momo is told by Seiko that they will be unable to make her bento for school, but tells her that it's okay and to get some rest. Later, Momo comes outside to see that Gigi and his parents have arrived to rebuild the Ayase house, and much to their surprise, it is already built, and asks that they quiet down since Seiko is currently sleeping. While walking with Gigi to school, Momo asks about his situation with the evil eye, and learns that the spirit has been obedient despite accidentally switching places a few times. After arriving at school, Momo is asked by Gigi if she has a crush on anyone, and she reacts with embarrassment. She then decides to walk the rest of the way without him after he starts to flirt with a few female classmates, but panics after hearing one of the girls offering him a cold beverage, knowing that it could awaken the evil eye. After drinking the beverage and causing the evil eye to switch places with him while keeping his clothes intact, Momo tries covering for the evil eye's strange personality around others to keep him under control throughout her time in school until she could find anything hot to give Gigi in return. She later meets up with Miko and Muko and learns from them about a ghost residing in an apartment complex that is in the form of a gold ball. Believing that this ball is Okarun's kintama, Momo rushes to his classroom to inform him and ends up meeting a male classmate who wanted to talk to him briefly. Before she could leave with Okarun, Momo gets into a dispute with her friend's class representative after she believes that Okarun is being forced to obey her. The two are then interrupted by the classmate Okarun was talking to after he makes an absurd statement, much to Momo's annoyance. After arriving at the apartment building the ghost is said to reside in, Momo remains upset with the class rep arguing with her. She then hears Okarun commenting on how happy he was that he was approached in class to have a conversation and responds saying that he is cool, much to his shock. Momo then laughs at Okarun after he makes a strange response to this and suggests that they say something more fitting. After catching the classmate Okarun was talking to earlier following them, Momo sees him levitating and being sent towards her, but is moved out of the way in time by Okarun. She and Okarun then see the apartment complex ghost in front of them and try to capture it. However, the ghost moves out of the way of Momo's psychic powers and repels Okarun after he gets in close to grab the gold ball. This confirms to Okarun that the apartment complex ghost has a physical body, and the two chase after it as it begins to flee. While on the move, Momo orders the classmate to look after their bags, which he willingly complies to do. Momo and Okarun's efforts to capture the ghost prove to be grueling due to the body of the ghost being invisible and them unable to avoid its attacks. Momo then saves the classmate from falling from the building after the ghost targets him and watches as he tries to attack the ghost. Though this proved to be ineffective, the classmate gives insight to Momo and Okarun as to how the ghost's invisibility functions, allowing Momo to successfully restrain it and have Okarun charge at the ghost to send it crashing out of the building. The three then look down to see the ghost's invisibility cancelled, revealing it to be a kaiju. With the gold ball suddenly vanished, Momo suggests going down to investigate while it's not moving. However, the kaiju recovers to chase them down inside an empty space Kamigoe City, revealing to them that the kaiju is an alien. Momo, Okarun, and the classroom run to Ira and Gigi as the kaiju continues to chase after them. After she and Ira save the classmate from being stomped by it, Momo tells Gigi to carry him to her house while she, Okarun, and Ira fight back against the kaiju. Momo and Ira attack the kaiju with thrown vehicles but fail to inflict any major damage. After Ira is struck by the kaiju, Okarun rushes over to save her before the kaiju could attack her again. Momo then uses her powers to catch the two while they're in the air and carries them to her house, which upsets her after realizing upon arriving that Ira was faking being unconscious in order to stay in Okarun's arms. The classmate and Gigi regroup with the others, but with the evil eye switching places with Gigi after coming into contact with the classmate's sweat. With the evil eye being obedient to his agreement with Okarun to only fight him, along with Seiko being away for a television appearance, Momo becomes conflicted as to how to defeat the kaiju. After Momo causes the wall to glow from the nanoskin the house is made of, Okarun tells Momo that he has figured out a way to use the nanoskin to beat the kaiju. The group hears Okarun out on his strategy to reshape the nanoskin house into a weapon they can use to fight back. To properly achieve this, their classmate, Ken Takakura, uses his knowledge of sci-fi to visualize the house into a giant robot, but becomes dissatisfied that the robot took the appearance of a Buddha due to Momo visualizing something big. Though they are successful, the group failed to figure out how to properly control the robot and are attacked by the kaiju. Kinta figures out that the robot can only be moved by visualized movements and manages to have the robot fight back against the kaiju. However, this results in Momo and Ira feeling motion sick from his piloting. After the kaiju turns invisible and repeatedly damages it, Momo uses her psychic power from the robot to grab a hold of the kaiju while Ira uses her acrobatic silky hair to wrap it around its body. Now in control, Momo uses her power to raise the kaiju up into the air and perform a power bomb, causing the monster to shrink down from becoming too injured to continue fighting. With the kaiju defeated, Momo, Ira, and Kinta find themselves back in the real Kamigoe City, where the citizens are shocked to see a giant robot appearing out of nowhere. Momo then has the robot transported back to her residential area and reverted back into her house. While Kinta becomes satisfied that he got to pilot a robot, Momo and Ira run out of the room feeling motion sick. Shortly after, Momo goes outside to check on Okarun and becomes shocked to find him being kissed by a mysterious girl. Momo reacts violently to this by jumping in to attack the girl and figures out that she was their main enemy upon seeing the kaiju opened up as a piloting suit. She then demands that the girl explain herself as to why she did what she did earlier, but becomes unable to understand her alien language. Though she is recommended by Kinta and Okarun to settle down and hear the girl out, Momo refuses since she figured that Kinta only wanted the alien girl to like him and that Okarun is only being nice to her because of the kiss. After becoming even more furious with Okarun after he comments on how the alien girl is pretty, Momo marches back inside the house and refuses to have anything to do with the girl. Later, Momo glares angrily at the alien girl named Bamora as she joins the group for dinner. After being informed by Okarun that Bamora was fighting to find a husband capable of defeating her in battle, Momo and Ira correct Bamora on that it was them who defeated her and not Okarun as she assumes, and berate Kinta as he tries to defend himself as the true victor. Seeing Okarun becoming close to Bamora after he offers to help her eat, Momo responds by moving next to him him and giving an angry pout at Bamora, causing the alien girl to respond back with her own pouting face. Shortly after, Momo comes down with a stomachache after eating too much takoyaki out of anger, and learns from Okarun that they will not be able to get any information out of Bamora concerning the gold ball until they're able to understand her. She tells Okarun that she does not trust her and not to let his guard down, since she could be plotting to attack them again. Though Okarun argues that he has not let his guard down since the two kissed, Momo looks at him with doubt as he tries to not look her in the eyes. The two then hear Gigi calling out for Okarun to check out Bamora's kaiju suit. Space Globalists arc. After failing to convince her grandmother that Bamora is an alien, Momo is forced to take her to school. She becomes frustrated with this as she tries picking out clothes for Bamora to wear, but quickly changes her mood after she becomes amazed by her kaiju suit copying her school uniform. While walking to school, Momo tries having Bamora say her name properly, but finds herself accidentally warming up to her in the process. Momo then questions Bamora about the gold ball her suit possesses to know if it's Okarun's kintama. After she pulls out the orb, Momo learns that it is not the kintama, since it can only become gold in color once it's installed inside the suit, which is revealed to be its power source. She then wonders if she could ask Turbo Granny if she knew anything about the orb, since she's unable to ask Bamora without a translator. After looking at the time, Momo realizes that they're almost late to school and has Bamora run with her to a shortcut that Seiko forbid her from using. Though Momo has Bamora perform a good luck ritual with her to avoid running into danger, the two find themselves encountering Reiko Kashima, the slit-mouthed woman yokai. Momo then prepares to say pomade 10 times, since she knows that can get rid of Reiko Kashima with this phrase. However, the moment she heard her say pomade, Reiko Kashima attacks Momo before she can complete the spell. Momo tries chanting the ritual again after Bamora tries fighting back against Reiko Kashima, but is interrupted again after the yokai attacks her with her mirror portal ability using the multiple shards on the ground. She then witnesses Reiko Kashima trapping Bamora inside her mirror after she tries to defend Momo. Though she states her distrust in Bamora, Momo declares her refusal to lose her and prepares to fight back using her powers. However, she instead runs away in panic after causing Reiko to be enraged by an insult she threw in her statement, but manages to grab her mirror that is keeping Bamora hostage. However, she becomes unable to get out using her powers and ends up trapped alongside Bamora. To have the slit-mouthed woman free them from her mirror, Momo communicates with Bamora to make cute facial expressions with her to have Reiko Kashima become irritated with them for misusing her mirror. After being freed, Momo enters Bamora's kaiju suit with her and uses its invisibility to hide from Reiko, giving her the chance to complete the pomade chant and cause Reiko to disappear. After quickly making their escape from the ruins, Momo thanks Bamora for her help and is hugged by her after she voices her concern for her well-being. Hearing this, Momo states her newfound trust in her. Momo and Bamora manage to barely make it on time for school and meet up with Okarun and Aira. They then receive news from a staff member that Bamora will be joining Okarun's class, much to Momo and Aira's disapproval. Later, Momo and Aira head over to Okarun's class to pick him and Bamora up. However, the two are denied entry by the Class C representative to prevent them from being a bother to the other classmates getting to know Bamora, much to their annoyance. Momo then catches Okarun's attention after signaling him to come outside, but furiously reprimands him for becoming distracted in class instead of looking out for her signal much sooner. She then notices Okarun casually talking to Gigi and requests that he does the same with her too, only for Okarun to refuse given the circumstances he has with Gigi. Moving on to the reason she brought everyone out, Momo informs Okarun, Aira, Gigi, and Kinta of the golden ball installed into Bamora's suit, but is unsure if it is Okarun's kintama. Kinta gives his input that the ball was not recently acquired since there is already a slot in place for the suit, and that it could not be possible for her to have reconfigured the suit given its complex structure. Momo then concludes the meeting after noticing a few girls secretly talking about the group, believing that their current meeting spot and discussion will draw too much attention. At home, Momo is berated by Seiko after she informs her of her entry into the forbidden ruins that led to them encountering Reiko Kashima. Although she reassures her that she managed to get rid of the yokai using the pomade spell, Seiko informs her that the spell only temporarily expels yokai out of their dimension and that it will no longer be optional to use next time, given the conditions, and that she will have to say pomade 100 times and the loss of effectiveness with each use. To prevent her from encountering Reiko Kashima again, as the yokai begins to seek out revenge, Momo is instructed by Seiko to stay away from mirrors for the next week and not to leave her room for the remainder of the night. While finding it hard to fall asleep, Momo hears Okarun's voice coming from the other side of her cupboard window. After hearing about her situation from Seiko earlier, Okarun tells Momo that he wants to be her lookout for Reiko Kashima and confesses that he's doing this out of love for her. Momo becomes flustered hearing this from him and becomes tempted to go outside to meet with him. However, before opening her door, Momo asks Okarun if he's going to meet with Gigi tomorrow, to which Okarun answers no and that he was not going to meet with Gigi-san. Momo then returns to her bed after realizing that it was Reiko Kashima talking to her all this time and corrects her impersonation of Okarun, explaining that Gigi is the only person Okarun does not speak casually to. Though her trickery fails, Reiko Kashima continues to request for Momo to come out with Okarun's voice, much much to the latter's displeasure. In the morning, Momo eats breakfast with Seiko, the Turbo Granny, and Bamora while feeling tired and depressed from almost falling for Reiko Kashima's trickery. She then asks for the Turbo Granny to take a look at the golden ball Bamora keeps inside her kaiju suit, but is demanded by her to keep it away from her in disgust, explaining that the ball is similar to human karma. This raises the question to Momo as to why Bamora has something like this despite being an alien. After helping Bamora dress for school and giving her a new backpack, Momo tells her that she hopes that they will be able to have a proper conversation soon once she understands the human language. The two are then met by Okarun. While refusing to let Bamora get too close to Okarun, Momo asks if he had paid her a visit last night and hears him answering no, leading to Momo venting out her frustration on him. While in class, Momo sleeps in front of Miko, Muku, and Ririna, who hear her muttering. Later, Momo meets up with Okarun, Aira, Gigi, Kinta, and Bamora behind the school. Momo then hears Aira's complaint on Kinta joining, but says that she was okay with him being a part of the group as long as he doesn't make any obscene jokes, only for the latter to do the opposite and receive a kick from the two girls in annoyance. The group then witness Gigi showcasing his ability to let his ki flow out of his hands after further improving on his power to be more use of his friends, much to Momo and Okarun's amazement and gratitude. After school, Momo prepares to head off to work and asks for Okarun to take Bamora home, while also bluntly telling him not to do anything weird when alone with her, which he says that he would not do. Momo also tells Bamora not to get too close to Okarun as well and hears her thanking her. She then leaves, commenting on how she's getting good at communicating. After her shift is over, Momo prepares to head home before it turns 10 when Reiko Kashima shows herself. However, Momo finds the door locked and turns around to find the faces of the working maids and customers turned into odd-looking men. Momo then defends herself after the clones start to attack her but ends up being pinned down by them. She assumes that they're in league with the Serpos but learns from them that it was actually Bamora who led them to her. The clones then prepare to use a Serpo device to dissect Momo but are repelled off of her by a Serpo who came to reclaim his race's property. Momo receives an ironing device from the Serpo to help him turn the altered Serpos back to normal, as the Serpo reveals to Momo that his people were taken down by another alien group who have overwritten their data to serve them. As she works with the Serpo to turn the altered clones back to normal, Momo looks up at the ceiling to see the Imotako Kur in control of the altered Serpos and retaking control of the ones that were turned to normal. Momo tries attacking the enemy by using her powers to throw a chair but sees it phasing through the alien. Momo is warned by the Serpo that Imotako Kur is within a different dimension and allows him to attack his enemies while being immune to outside attacks, and is told by the Serpo that it can only be defeated with her paranormal powers. After a failed attempt to pull the Imotako Kur off the ceiling leads to her being thrashed around the area, Momo is instructed by the Serpo to use an attack from her powers in order to defeat it, but finds this to be a problem since she does not possess one. The situation becomes dire as Momo takes even more damage and is left defenseless against the mind-controlled Serpos. However, after flashing back to her childhood, from which Seiko tried teaching her how to use the power of words, Momo repels the mind-controlled Serpos with a new attack and successfully defeats the Imotako Kur with it, naming it the Moe Moe Tri-Beam. After finishing off the Imotako Kur, Momo is surrounded by the Serpos, who have all turned back to normal, and becomes too badly injured to move but dares them to try and attack her. However, the Serpos disappear after the Serpo who helped Momo sent them back elsewhere, telling her that this act was a truce, much to Momo's relief. As she bandages her wounds, Momo learns from the Serpo that an unknown group of aliens have warped to Earth from the further reaches of outer space using a transmission system in Japan, speculating it to be the Kofun burial grounds. Remembering how the alien confirmed that Bamora is affiliated with the group, Momo asks the Serpo if he saw someone fitting her description, but is told that he is unsure. Momo is also told by the Serpo that her friends are being targeted and could be in danger as they speak, prompting Momo to hurry to them and demand that the Serpo return her to normal space. The Serpo does as she asks, but requests that she take him along to erase the data their enemies stole from his people. Momo declines due to the history between them, but has no choice but to use him as a disguise in order to enter a manga cafe and hide from Reiko Kashima since it was after 10. While still hiding behind the Serpo in a private room, Momo manages to prevent Reiko Kashima from spotting her after the yokai takes control of a worker to look for her, and notices a strange device within the Serpo's chest. Momo asks the Serpo about the device, but receives no answer after the Serpo avoids the question. Momo takes the Serpo with her as she heads home and runs into Chiquitita, who came to warn her that her friends were attacked and are back at the house. Upon entering, Momo finds Aira and Gigi lying in their beds in critical condition as they're being looked after by Mr. Mantis Shrimp, and also finds the dead alien Okarun took down lying next to them. She then enters the room in which Okarun is being treated and sees Bamora at his bedside. After being warned about Okarun's condition by Mr. Mantis Shrimp, Momo angrily attacks Bamora, informing Mr. Mantis Shrimp that she is a spy affiliated with the enemy, and chases her as she tries to escape outside with her suit activated. Momo yells out to Bamora to never show her face around her again, and sees her adhering to her demands aliens by departing while invisible. She then cries, feeling upset, but denies to the Serpo that she's having this emotion, while also agreeing with him that neither of them will understand each other. Wanting to take revenge on the aliens who attacked her and her friends, Momo asks the Serpo of their location, and hears his speculation that their base must be at a nearby Kofun burial ground. Later, while being treated by Mr. Mantis Shrimp, Momo becomes relieved to see Aira and Gigi being lively after regaining consciousness and informs them of Bamora's affiliation with the enemy. She gets into an argument with Gigi as he tries to defend Bamora. However, their argument is put to an end after they hear Okarun requesting for them to stop fighting, leading to her and the others rushing over to his bedside. Momo talks to him and is informed that the alien stole his kintama, prompting Momo to reassure him that she will get it back. She then panics after Okarun becomes silent, but is calmed down by Mr. Mantis Shrimp as he puts back the attachment Okarun removed, explaining that he took it off to stop his friends from arguing, much to Momo and Gigi's shame. Shortly after, Momo takes the three outside to meet the Serpo she brought with her and informs him that the alien group has taken Okarun's kintama, which the Serpo feared as this meant that the kintama will be able to provide them with enough energy to summon the main force. With Seiko not there to help them, Momo decides that they should train and takes the Serpo's suggestion to relocate to his base to avoid enemy attack. Momo, Aira, and Gigi then try to remodel the nanoskin house into a vehicle to safely move Okarun, but end up failing until they receive help from Mr. Mantis Shrimp to complete the task. After arriving at their destination, Momo first goes with Mr. Mantis Shrimp and the Serpo to check to see if their hideout is rigged with traps. She discovers the combat use simulators that can help the group figure out how their enemy fights. By midnight, Momo, Gigi, and Mr. Mantis Shrimp are critiqued by Aira on their poor performance during the training, with Momo's Moe tri-beam being pointed out to be too short in range, and that it causes her to run out of energy quickly. This prompts Momo to prove that she can perform it again, but becomes disappointed to see that Aira was right after the technique fails to be properly executed. After failing to get in touch with Seiko over the phone, Momo allows Mr. Mantis Shrimp to borrow her house to drive back to his house, and goes back inside the hideout before 10 o'clock. Finding it hard to get any sleep from hearing a banging noise against the walls, Momo relocates to another spot and is found by Gigi, who helps her get some sleep by covering her ears with ki applied to his hands to effectively block the sound. In the morning, Momo and Gigi are woken up by Mr. Mantis Shrimp and meet outside with Aira for breakfast. Unbeknownst to them, Okarun tries to gain their attention after mysteriously waking up as an astral projection. Later, the group continues with their training, with Momo and Gigi combining their powers to form a destructive Moe tri-beam. The following evening, Momo pays a visit to Okarun with Aira before they head out to face the enemy group, and places a plate of curry next to him in case he wakes up. While traveling, Momo gives Gigi a Serpo communication device for the battle, tells him and Aira to use the power of words in their attacks, and takes note of Aira reading a beauty magazine. After arriving at the warp gate, Momo and the others come under attack by these suited aliens but manage to escape unharmed. While Aira, Gigi, and Mr. Mantis Shrimp fight off these suited aliens, Momo carries the Serpo to the warp gate to stop the main force from being summoned. As she gets closer to the warp gate, Momo is attacked by two of these suited aliens but is protected by the Serpo from taking any damage. Momo is told by the Serpo to defeat the suited aliens quickly before his psychic shield comes down, but finds it to be a problem with the enemy being far away from her Moe tri-beam. Just as the Serpo's shield comes down from taking damage from the suited alien's bullets being fired, Momo is saved by Bamora's sudden arrival to attack the suited alien, but witnesses in shock to see her being stabbed through the stomach by the spatial suit alien. As the Serpo tries to hold up a psychic barrier to protect both of them from the jet booster suit alien, Momo desperately tries to use her powers to save Bamora's life, which results in her receiving her past memories. After she, along with her friends and allies, through these Serpo communication devices, learn about Bamora's tragic past at the hands of the suited alien group, Momo angrily glares at the spatial suit alien with tears in her eyes. Momo is begged by the Serpo to focus her attention on the enemies in front of her, as his power is growing weak to continue keeping the barrier up for them, but refuses to do anything until Bamora is saved. With no other choice, the Serpo brings out a body needle to stab Bamora in the neck, causing Momo to become angry with him for ending Bamora's life. However, Momo sees Bamora's wound healed, as the Serpo reveals that he was saving the tool for her in case she was mortally wounded, and asks for her to destroy the Serpo data the suited alien stole as his dying wish. After the Serpo's psychic barrier is brought down, Momo is kicked away by the jet booster suit alien to get Bamora, but sends a tree his way to set her free. She then apologizes to Bamora for acting awfully towards her, tells her that she believes that her mother is still alive and that she will handle the rest. She also tells the dead Serpo that she will honor his request, as he is the only Serpo that she's come to like. As the spatial suit alien and the jet booster suit alien approach the two, Momo tells Bamora to stay back as she prepares to fight them off with a few levitated trees while feeling furious. Momo fights fights back against the spatial and jet booster suit aliens while protecting Bamora, but is soon faced with the alien reinforcements who had come through the portal. Momo chooses to stand her ground despite being outnumbered, but is ultimately overwhelmed. However, Momo finds herself being held in Okarun's arms after he arrives to instantly eliminate the aliens around her, and she becomes emotional seeing him again. She also is relieved to see Aira and Mr. Mantis Shrimp after they help free Bamora from being restrained, and becomes shocked to see the Evil Eye joining them as well, having been informed by Okarun that today is the time for them to fight. With everyone together, Momo and the others battle the alien reinforcements. Momo and Okarun face the spatial suit alien, but have trouble against his ability as he uses space to block Okarun's all-out attack and send Momo's manipulated debris to his dimension. After thinking back to how Rokuro told her how psychic power is able to transcend dimensions, Momo comes up with the plan to attack the spatial suit alien with her Moi Moi Tri-Beam from within by tricking him into sending her to his dimension with her special attack ready. Momo's plan works as she jumps out of the alien's destroyed spatial suit and calls on Okarun for help as the spatial suit alien tries to attack her. The spatial suit alien is then defeated by Okarun as he charges straight through him and catches Momo. Although they defeated the spatial suit alien, Momo is berated by Okarun for her reckless stunt that had him worry that she might have died, prompting Momo to apologize. With their powers exhausted, Momo and Okarun are left defenseless against one of the alien reinforcements, but are saved by Bamora in her kaiju suit and are supported by Mr. Mantis Shrimp as they make their way to close the gate. However, matters get worse as the spatial suit alien takes Bamora's kaiju suit, activates its slaughter mode, and throws her out from up high. Momo, Okarun, and Aira become unable to get to Bamora as the alien reinforcements block their path. However, this no longer is a problem as Kinta suddenly arrives to run them over with his nanoskin bike. After his arrival, Momo is shocked and displeased to see him holding the note she left for her grandmother at her residency that asks her for help when she comes back from her trip. Despite this, Momo praises Kinta in the end after he manages to use the nanoskin of the Ayase household to save Bamora and construct a mecha to take down the spatial suit alien. Momo, Okarun, and Mr. Mantis Shrimp locate the kintama opening the gate and proceed to remove it to close the portal. Before they could get back to Aira to help her fight the remaining aliens, the three look up in shock to see the UFOs of the main force managing to pass through the gate on time before it completely closes. As the main force begins to decimate the area, Momo has Mr. Mantis Shrimp return to Aira, while she and Okarun rush over to Kinta to fight back against the aliens with the mecha before they cancel out the empty space and invade in normal space. However, Momo finds herself confronted by Reiko Kashima, who becomes delighted to see her again so she could exact her revenge. With the yokai appearing on top of the main force's arrival, Momo falls to her knees in despair as she wishes that she could see Seiko again. However, Momo witnesses Reiko Kashima destroying the main UFO with her mirror ability after she found it deplorable that the main force was dropping bombs, and proceeds to send the entire fleet and suited aliens to her mirror dimension, where they're furiously attacked by the yokai. Momo is then shielded by Okarun to prevent Reiko Kashima from harming her, but refuses to have him get involved with her situation. Having been reminded of a precious time involving a loved one in her past life from seeing the two trying to protect each other from her wrath, Reiko Kashima makes the decision to spare Momo and leave the area. Momo and Okarun become shocked and confused by this and find themselves back in normal space, where their friends come to pick them up now that the invasion is over. At the Ayase house, Momo hugs Seiko as she becomes relieved to see her again, but is pushed aside by her grandmother due to her getting in the way of her making barbecue for everyone. After playfully taking a piece of Okarun's food, Momo talks to him, wondering if Bamora is worried about her mother and if there's a way to reunite them. Momo then becomes shocked to see Rokuro again, having been saved by Mr. Mantis Shrimp with the nanoskin he had on him that repaired his body, who thanks her for keeping her word in eliminating the Serpo data from the enemy. Momo tells Rokuro that she is glad that he's okay, but demands that he not try to attack her and her friends again, only to receive no word from Rokuro as he walks off, much to her annoyance. After Seiko brings up the curries that were left while she was away, Momo becomes reminded of the curry she left for Okarun, and the note she wrote that reads, "Love ya," causing her to become flustered next to him and begging Seiko to stop saying the word curry as she tells her to buy more. Momo agrees to go to the market and goes along with Okarun, Aira, Gigi, Bamora, and Kinta after refusing to adhere to their requests for additional stuff. As Momo starts to wonder if Okarun noticed the note she left for him and if he's going to bring it up to her later, the group find themselves running into Reiko Kashima, whose appearance has drastically changed due to the yokai not wearing her makeup. Momo states to Reiko Kashima that she had assumed she had attained nirvana after the invasion was over, but is corrected by her, telling her that there is no one who can extinguish her hatred. Reiko Kashima also tells Momo that she couldn't bear the way she acts around Okarun, having spied on Momo during her time pursuing her, but adds that she has become inspired to find love from watching them. Before the yokai makes her leave, Momo is demanded by her to try being more honest with her feelings or she will take Okarun away from her, which prompts Okarun to shield Momo from Reiko Kashima after she closed in on her. Momo hears Aira's confusion about what Reiko Kashima was talking about and recommends that she forget the whole thing. After shopping, Momo questions Okarun about why the only time Bamora's kaiju suit invisibility had a flaw of exposing its golden core was during the first time they met at the apartment. Okarun wonders as well, but points out that they would not have known about Bamora if it wasn't for that error. Hearing that, Momo speculates that the golden ball wanted them to find her, which Okarun agrees with. On Busamon arc. With the Kintama reclaimed, Momo, Gigi, Bamora, Seiko, and the Turbo Granny prepare to return it back to Okarun's crotch through a game of football, much to Okarun's chagrin. Though the Kintama is returned, Momo berates Gigi for his poor performance, which Okarun questions if the debriefing was necessary. At school, Momo meets up with Okarun, Kinta, and Bamora, who shows off her fluent Japanese to the three. After conversing with Okarun on how they should go about finding the second Kintama, Kinta suggests forming a school club as a way to focus on gathering information on its whereabouts. Though she has her reservations about the idea, Momo complies to be on board, seeing as how Okarun, Kinta, and Bamora are up for it with enthusiasm. Later, Sanjome, the deputy head teacher, meets with Momo and Okarun after agreeing to become the club's faculty supervisor, though the two become confused as to why he is since they don't recall ever seeing him around the school before. When tasked by Sanjome to clean out the school's storage room to have it become the club room, Momo walks with Okarun questioning Sanjome's identity, and suddenly notices a couple making out. Not wanting Okarun to take note as well, as he's about to turn his head towards them, Momo grabs his head to shift it away but ends up locking eyes with him, causing her to feel embarrassed. Momo once again becomes eager to have him bring up the topic of her curry note to put the matter at rest, but ends up walking away angry after failing in her attempts. While at the dinner table, Momo's bad mood from her interaction with Okarun at school earlier becomes apparent to Seiko, the Turbo Granny, and Bamora, with the Turbo Granny becoming prompted to make fun of her. Annoyed, Momo storms off to her room, where she starts to imagine a scenario where Okarun confesses to her, only to be interrupted by Seiko informing her downstairs that Okarun had come to their house. Okarun comes to the Ayases for help with Rin, his class representative at school, who he finds out is being haunted by a yokai. Seiko speculates that the yokai is an Onbusamon born from the spirit of her childhood friend Mai Kawabanga based on her backstory, and makes arrangements to have her spirit achieve nirvana by hiring the Hayashi and Dashi carriers and taking a route from the high school to Mai's audition venue. As the group heads to the venue while trying to avoid getting caught by high school spirits being drawn by the Onbusamon, Momo is tasked with protecting the Hayashi and the Dashi from the spirits as they try attacking the float. After the Hayashi's vocalist is knocked out, resulting in the Hayashi's musical barrier being brought down, Momo uses her powers to keep the animated school from crushing them until Rin musters up the strength to sing again and take the vocalist's place in forming the barrier. Momo continues to keep the Dashi stable until the Onbusamon reverts back to Mai's spirit and assists Rin in eliminating the spirits. She then becomes exhausted by the time the group reaches the audition venue. Danmanra arc. At her home, Momo joins everyone involved in the previous operation for dinner and remarks on the strangeness of Mai's look as the spirit persists in the living world. Upon questioning whether Mai should remain by Rin's side, Momo receives assurance from Seiko that it is appropriate, as Mai is now more akin to a guardian spirit than a yokai. She then finds out from Mai that she fully intends to steer Rin towards an idol career while neglecting her dream to become a novelist, causing Momo to remark on how harsh she was being. After insisting that everyone leave since the situation with the Onbusamon is resolved, Momo agrees to join Okarun at a police box tomorrow after he informs her that he requires her aura sensing ability to verify the presence of his second Kintama. Momo then receives an apology from Rin for initially misjudging her, and proceeds to compliment how she now sees her as a good person, much to Momo's embarrassment. After Okarun and Rin leave, Momo returns to her room and lays on her bed feeling flushed from noticing Okarun making direct eye contact with her when he said his goodbye. The following day, Momo walks with Okarun to the police box and becomes annoyed with the latter averting his eyes away from her on the way there. After confirming that the Kintama is not there, Momo and Okarun enlist the help of the Turbo Granny to have her act as lost property and find out who took the Kintama. Although they succeeded in getting her inside, the Turbo Granny returns empty-handed because of her inability to operate a computer to search for the data. With the Turbo Granny out of the police box, Momo and Okarun decide to enter a convenience store to buy a Maneki Neko that can take the talking cat's place. The two then find themselves running into Rokuro, who was working as an employee after being banished from the Serpos for being deemed a defective clone. Though they have their reservations about Rokuro as a Serpo, Momo believes that his nanoskin can be of use and requests that he employ it to access the police box's computer and find out who claimed Okarun's Kintama. Upon agreeing to help, Rokuro enters the police box to hack the computer while Momo and Okarun stand outside and wait. The two then try to stall for time by faking a fight in front of Bega, the front desk police officer, after he returns from patrol. However, to no avail, Momo and Okarun witness Rokuro getting into a fight with Bega after he catches him exiting the door. After Rokuro uses his nanoskin to connect to Bega Omega's phone and impersonate an officer who gives him clearance, Momo and Okarun converse with him elsewhere and learn that a Renjaku High School student named Unji Zuma has Okarun's second kintama. Upon their arrival at Renjaku High School in search of Unji, Momo and Okarun find themselves witnessing a confrontation between two classes, followed by a couple of male students coming up to talk to Momo. Momo is then defended by Okarun when a student rudely touches her hair, which angers the student when Okarun confronts him. Okarun tells the student that he's willing to take a beating from him as long as Momo isn't harmed. However, Momo assures Okarun that his intervention was unnecessary, pointing out that the student was technically at fault for touching her first and insists that they summon Unji. The duo finds themselves approached by a large student who apologizes for his underlings' misbehavior and complies to take them to Class D where Unji is. After meeting with Toriumi, the third-ranked student of Class D, Momo and Okarun learn from him that Unji has not been present for 2 weeks and has been showing signs of being possessed by something that makes him appear as a demon. Momo inquires about a gold ball in Unji's possession and learns from Toriumi that not only did Unji possess such an item, he also proclaimed his intention to use it to wreck the world. Momo then tells Okarun to shift into his Turbo Granny form to determine if Toriumi made contact with the kintama. This is confirmed to them when Toriumi terrified flees at the sight of Okarun's similarity to Unji. Later, Momo and Okarun attempt to locate Unji at his residency, only to discover that he is not there. As they continue their search, Okarun remembers Toriumi's remarks about Unji's wish to annihilate the world, which heightens their suspicion that he may be akin to the evil eye. They then hear a voice coming from behind and turn around startled to see an elderly man with a sword charging towards them, prompting them to halt his advance. Soon, they're faced with a group of delinquents searching for the old man. Momo blocks an assault from one of the delinquents, prompting Okarun to morph into his Turbo Granny form and caution the gang to keep their distance. Momo then learns that they are spiritually aware after they become surprised to see Okarun's resemblance to Unji and asks if they know Unji. With the delinquent's top priority being the old man, Momo tells them that she will retain the elder until she gets an answer, leading the gang leader to threaten her. Nonetheless, respecting his code against harming women, the leader consents to guide them to the headquarters where Unji is believed to be, on the condition that the elderly man accompanies them. At their hideout, the gang leads Momo, Okarun, and the elderly man to a diorama, stating that Unji is trapped inside, and believes that the only way to free him is for someone else to take his place, where the old man comes in after previously being inside before Unji. Momo and Okarun then listen to the old man, his voice filled with terror, opposing going back inside, revealing that he had been imprisoned within the monstrous inner world of the diorama since childhood, and that he only managed to escape by inadvertently trading places with a girl from the gang, who also found her way out after Unji willingly entered to wreck the world. The last bit of information provides Momo and Okarun with insight into Toriumi's statement about Unji, and they also learn from the gang that Unji received the kintama from a mysterious man who wished to assist him. As the gang attempts to forcibly return the old man to the diorama, Momo, after dodging the old man's defensive sword swings, loses her balance and accidentally touches the diorama behind her, resulting in her being transported into its inner world, much to Okarun's shock. Having been sent to the mystical realm of Danmanra, Momo uses this chance to find Unji. Her quest brings her to the National Border Hill, where she chooses to take a sword as a weapon. Noticing how the world and the location she is at is set up, Momo deduces that the diorama is actually a game, and finds herself confronted by a colossal knight. Preparing her psychokinetic defenses for his assault, Momo is caught off guard when her powers don't respond, leaving her vulnerable and shouting for Okarun's aid. In this dire moment, a figure with yokai-like abilities appears, shielding her from the attack and defeating the knight. The stranger then questions Momo's reason for being in Danmanra, and upon hearing her mention Unji Zuma, he discloses his identity as the same. Upon their encounter, Momo insists that Unji return Okarun's kintama. However, Unji explains that he cannot give it up, as it's crucial for the activation of his powers in the world they're in. Momo then asks him about the individual who informed him of the kintama. She learns from him that a man, who he met at a library and whose face he cannot recall, entrusted him with the kintama and the mission to destroy Danmanra, as the diorama itself barred the man from entering. After Unji discloses his preoccupation with monster slaying ever since he came to Danmanra, Momo clarifies that the diorama is in fact a game, hinting that escape could be achievable by finishing each level. Before attempting to climb the sloped wall, Momo is asked by Unji for her name, but chooses to refuse to reveal it until he hands over the kintama. Upon reaching the peak, Momo and Unji stumble upon an obstacle course made of desserts. Unji, feeling compelled, offers his pants to Momo to prevent any concerns about her skirt, which she accepts. Unfortunately, this leads to the accidental dropping of the kintama from his pocket into the course below. As they attempt to recover it, they are hindered by a number of frogs. Momo and Unji navigate the obstacle course, battling the frogs that obstruct their path. Amidst the conflict, they, along with the frogs, come under attack with the Death Patissier, a giant patissier calling out desserts. Upon discovering Unji among the rubble, Momo is handed a giant lollipop and is informed by Unji about the Death Patissier's commencement of a color tag game, where anyone not touching the dessert named becomes a target. It also dawns on Momo that the frogs are in fact shikigami, as evident by the attacked ones transformed into origami figures. As the Death Patissier announces Florentine as the next dessert, Momo and Unji make haste to locate one and evade his focus. Momo succeeds in finding a Florentine and quickly shares it with Unji just before the Death Patissier executes his strike. With the Death Patissier announcing a donut as the next dessert, Momo and Unji hurry to the one they spotted, which coincidentally is also the choice of the frogs. After fighting them off, Momo and Unji concentrate on reclaiming the kintama as the Death Patissier announces the next dessert. As the next dessert is cake, Momo is instructed by Unji to quickly move towards it while he chases the kintama. Seeing oncoming desserts thrown by the frogs, Momo comes in to shield Unji and yells out at him to continue pursuing for the kintama before the frogs get it. As Unji succeeds in seizing it, the Death Patissier launches an assault on Momo, Unji, and the frogs. In that critical moment, Momo is given the kintama by Unji to activate her psychic powers, as his power has yet to be restored, and uses it to bring them both to safety and latch onto the Death Patissier's rolling pin. Momo then brings herself close to the Death Patissier to launch her Moe Moe Tri-Beam, resulting in the giant Patissier being destroyed. Unji then assists Momo out of the candy heap, expressing gratitude for her help. Momo agrees to return the kintama to Unji, respecting his similar desire to conquer the game, but is permitted by him to keep it, having acknowledged her strength earlier, which delights Momo. Following the Death Patissier's defeat, scrolls appear, granting Momo and Unji the Nom Nom Bongo card, enabling them to harness the power of consumed sweets. Experimenting, they taste a lollipop and a donut, resulting in Momo's hand becoming sticky candy and Unji's legs turning into donut springs. Momo then examines the card she received upon entering Danmanra and sees that the Dark Knight's image, whom Unji had vanquished, is printed on it. Activating it, a shield materializes, and Momo deduces that to progress in the game, they must defeat the 4 bosses to complete the card's 4 circles. With their powers depleted, Unji proposes they utilize the card's abilities temporarily. Later, Momo and Unji face the next boss, Medusa, and are forced to climb a tower with donut-shaped spring legs as the creature tries to eat them. With the Dark Knight's sword using the Carmine card proving to be ineffective against Medusa due to the monster's rocky exterior, Momo and Unji turn to utilizing the Nom Nom Bongo card by eating spicy chips to gain fire-breathing abilities. However, their efforts to scorch the creature fail as its body is shown to be immune to fire. Cornered at the top of the tower, Momo throws a wrapped piece of candy at Medusa, hoping the beast will eat it and become sticky. She realized earlier that the Nom Nom Bongo card's effects also affect enemies, after Medusa's skin took on the properties of candy it ate. As Medusa's body weakens and becomes vulnerable, Momo and Unji triumph, defeating Medusa with their fiery breath and the Dark Knight's blade. After arriving at a city called Ice Town, Momo and Unji stand guard against a frog using the Medusa and Dark Knight card, thinking that it's the same as the one they fought at the National Border Hill. However, the frog only welcomes them into Ice Town, and they realize that it's not programmed to fight them, which also applies to the other frogs in the city. While there, Momo and Unji take time to eat a meal and find an inn to rest at. With the inn only having a single room, Momo and Unji agree to take shifts resting in the bed, with Unji compelling Momo to be the first to take a bath and wash her clothes. After switching out with Unji, Momo sits outside the door lost in thoughts about Okarun and eventually falls asleep, which leads Unji to gently move her to the bed as he chooses to sleep outside. After waking up and finding herself sleeping in the bed, Momo realizes she has accidentally fallen asleep outside and that Unji had carried her in, leading to her apologizing to Unji for the inconvenience of having him sleep in the hall. As they walked through the streets, Momo and Unji use the kintama to check and see if the powers have fully recovered. Unji shares his uncertainty about his powers' origins, possibly from a yokai, and his limitation of not being able to use them if he opens all 2 of his umbrellas. After it starts to rain, Momo is sheltered by Unji using his umbrella. Knowing the limits of his abilities, Momo voices her apprehensions as they approach the final stage, but Unji reassures that there is no alternative as he doesn't want her to fall ill with a cold. Momo's reaction to Unji's sudden protective state echoes her memories of Okarun's change in personality when he assumes his Turbo Granny form, prompting her to plead for his normalcy. After Unji reverts back to normal, unaware that he accidentally opened up one of his umbrellas, Momo chides him for his emotional impulsiveness. They then proceed to the final stage. Upon reaching the final stage, Momo and Unji are tasked with shattering a crystal within a castle, but are required to bypass an army that guards it. Momo deems a direct assault on the large army unfeasible, but an instructional scroll reveals that they can summon their own army using 3 magical dice. Estimating the enemy at around 600 knights, they begin with the blue dice, which multiplies the rolled number by 1. Momo attempts to ensure a roll of 6 using her powers, but the game nullifies her roll for cheating, disappointing Unji. She then rolls the red dice, which multiplies the roll by 10 and lands on 1. Confident he can do better, Unji rolls the yellow dice, which multiplies the roll by 100 but only lands on 2 to Momo's dismay. With an army of 210, they're instructed to assign their soldiers to one of 4 roles: knights, archers, mages, or warriors. They evenly distribute their troops among these roles and assign themselves as a mage and a knight. As they engage in battle, Momo orders her troops to shield themselves from a volley of arrows, but the mages suffer due to their vulnerability to archers. Noticing the enemy's front line consisting of knights, Momo pits her warriors against them, leveraging their advantage, and prepares her archers for a counterattack, anticipating the enemy mage's intervention. As the enemy mages advance to confront the warriors, Momo directs her archers to take down the mages before they can cast their spells, and instructs her warriors to stay out of the mage's spell range. Though Unji is successful in eliminating several archers, Momo cautions him to evade warrior hits due to his vulnerability as a knight after his HP drops from blocking an attack. After defeating a third of the army, the opposing army's behemoths are unleashed to decimate many of Momo and Unji's forces. Momo advises Unji to avoid the behemoths as they belong to the warrior class, and orders her troops to fall back while attacking to avoid being trampled by them. With Unji pointing out how the distance between them and the opposing army will give the enemy's archers an opening to attack, Momo orders her warriors to shield themselves from the archers' barrage. A wyvern then flies over the warriors to incinerate them with his fiery breath. Momo then commands her archers to target the wyvern, given its mage classification, and requests that Unji focus on the enemy archers. Yet as the warriors shield the archers and the beasts intensify their attacks, Momo senses the tide of battle turning against them. Momo commands her army to stand firm as they face the onslaught of the enemy's beasts. She glances at her diagram scroll, noting that 84 of her warriors have fallen and her cadre of mages have vanished. As a behemoth lunges to crush her, a motorcycle crashes into the creature, vanquishing it, rescuing Momo. Turning, she sees the Renjaku high schoolers and Unji's gang joining the fray. Despite disregarding role pairings, Momo becomes impressed by their ability to dispatch the enemy forces and beasts without formal tactics, with Unji remarking on their familiarity with combat. Entrusting the battle to them, Momo and Unji advance towards the castle to shatter the crystal, following the stage's directives. At the crystal, Momo observes talismans affixed to it and is instructed to step back as he readies his sword to strike. Suddenly, the two hear Okaruns plead a halt as he, along with Turbo Granny, rushes to them, much to Momo's shock. With the crystal already destroyed by Unji, Momo and Unji are urged by them to flee. As Momo, Okarun, and Turbo Granny and Unji escape the crumbling castle, Turbo Granny reveals that the diorama is actually a cursed trunk meant to imprison a yokai, and the crystal is one of the few seals keeping it trapped. This revelation shocks Momo as she realizes that the seals are in fact the 4 bosses illustrated on the card. This prompts Turbo Granny to reprimand her, clarifying that the bosses are guardian deities designed to incarcerate the yokai, and that Danmanra's true purpose was to trick players into freeing it. Upon being congratulated outside for completing the game, Momo is informed by Turbo Granny that the sealed entity is not only unknown but also dangerous. Following the release of the yokai known as the Fairy Tale card, Momo and the others are cautioned by Turbo Granny against making eye contact, as he possesses the ability to possess individuals. Upon discovering from Turbo Granny that the Fairy Tale card has transformed the cursed trunk into a game to indirectly break the seal, Momo inquires about their escape. The Fairy Tale card responds, declaring escape as not an option, and reveals that the old man player and a member of Unji's gang were released solely because they hadn't played the game and to use them to entice more humans into the trap. Momo expresses her desire to depart from the world, conveying to the yokai that despite its attempts to appease them with various candies, she still finds the world dull. This leads to the Fairy Tale card challenging whether her wish to leave also extended to the others, highlighting the drawbacks of rejoining society and suggesting they despise the real world, seeking to plunge it into chaos. One of Unji's followers is then overtaken by the Fairy Tale card and assaults Unji, which results in him falling under the possession of the yokai as well, transforming unintentionally after he opens his eyes. Momo, Okarun, and Turbo Granny and the others are blown away by Unji as he begins to transform into a yokai, recognized by Turbo Granny as Umbrella Boy. The Turbo Granny questions Momo if she's able to use power, which Momo replies she cannot without the kintama held by Unji. Hearing the Fairy Tale card state his intentions to wreak havoc through Unji, Momo urges everyone to use the Medusa card to petrify themselves, shielding them from Umbrella Boy Unji's shockwave blast. Aware that Unji's umbrellas have a 2-use limit, Momo is puzzled by his sustained form and discovers from the Turbo Granny that the Fairy Tale card can extract the utmost power from its human host until they collapse from overuse. As Unji readies another assault, Momo, Okarun, and the Turbo Granny use the Medusa card for protection. However, Momo takes damage on her right arm from the stone fracturing. She implores Unji not to be swayed, asserting that he is not the one to harm his supportive friends, and advances with the Dark Knight's shield and sword. As Umbrella Boy Unji jumps into the air, poised to unleash another shockwave, Momo hears Okarun rushing up and calling out to her to use the Medusa card for defense. However, after the card slips from her fingers, Momo consequently bears the brunt of the blast, leaving her gravely injured on the ground, unconscious, to Okarun's horror. Momo's unconscious body is then carried to the stage platform by Okarun to move her away from the battle. Later, Momo regains consciousness with tears in her eyes from viewing Unji's memories of his tragic past. Upon reuniting with Okarun, Momo bursts into tears, blaming herself for the unfolding events as her actions for breaking the seals will now lead to the fairy tale cards escaping and the entrapment of everyone else. In light of this, Momo is reassured by Okarun that everything will turn out fine, and learns from him and Turbo Granny that Rin is on the outside getting ready to free everyone from the cursed trunk. As the world of Danmanra starts to fall apart, Momo sees all the trapped individuals being raised into the air, as Rin employs Mai's ability to levitate the cursed trunk figurines out. Being the only one tethered to the ground after eating the food of the inner world, as confirmed by Turbo Granny, Momo grips Okarun's hand tightly while he ascends. Left with no way to resolve this, Momo urges Okarun to proceed without her to avoid being contained. Unwilling to abandon her, Okarun gives Momo his kintama in hopes that it will free her from the cursed trunk's grasp, only to find out that not even the item has any effect. After Turbo Granny agrees to stay by Momo's side to impart her luck onto her, Momo listens as she instructs Okarun to quickly defeat the fairy tale card to free them, due to the yokai being the creator of the inner world. As she prompts him to release her hand to face the fairy tale card, Momo hears Okarun recount the difficulty he faced during their short separation and blushes as he professes his love for her. Through understanding of his feelings, Momo releases Okarun's grip to have him ascend towards the sky, and urges him to defeat the fairy tale card so he can properly confess his feelings in the real world, to which Okarun promises. As the inner world nears total destruction, Momo clings to Turbo Granny, thanking her for her companionship. Turbo Granny reassures her, vowing to never abandon someone Seiko holds dear. Yet, upon noticing Momo's body starting to disintegrate, Turbo Granny's loyalty falters, selfishly wishing the world claim Momo instead to save herself, causing Momo great frustration. Suddenly, they're lifted into the air, realizing that the fairy tale card has been defeated and Rin's powers are freeing them. As they rise, Momo sees Turbo Granny growing larger. However, by the time they return to reality, Momo is shocked to discover that she has actually become tiny, now sitting in Okarun's palm. The two react with shock to this turn of events. At Goro's stamina booster, Momo grows frustrated with Aira for treating her like a toy in her dollhouse, given her now miniature size. Subsequently, Gigi scolds her for not asking for his help, insisting she promised to seek his aid in the future, not solely relying on Okarun. This is followed by a blush-inducing memory of Okarun's confession, affecting both Momo and Okarun. With Aira and Kinta backing Gigi's position and Gigi expressing Momo's significance to him, Momo concedes to their requests. She then assures Gigi of her recuperation and listens to Seiko confess that although she lacks a method to heal Momo, she is committed to discovering one. With Okarun's second kintama retrieved, Momo stands on Bamora's shoulder, joining the others in the traditional ritual of returning the ball to Okarun's crotch through a baseball game. This leads to a search for the kintama after Seiko strikes it with her bat. As Okarun expresses gratitude for help in finding his kintama, he apologizes to Momo for the search resulting in her shrunken size. Nevertheless, Momo reassures him that a solution is likely to be found and asks Aira for additional miniature clothing. Subsequently, the group moves on to restoring Turbo Granny's spiritual power to the yokai, fulfilling the agreement made with Momo. Once completed, Momo and the rest observe as Turbo Granny departs from the house, having no further reason to remain. And that is the life of Momo Ayase. For now, Dandadan the manga is still running, and there are more episodes of the anime already on the way. So, like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more just like it. Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi. Thanks for watching, peace.